Toast Bites.
Chomp.
Hey guys, welcome back to Toast Bites, where we take a look at some of the awesome indie games I've played that didn't get a standalone video on my channel. As always, a link to each game is in the description, and if you're on a supported device or using the YouTube app, you can check out more episodes of Toast Bites by clicking the card icon above. Let's get into it.
Number 1.
Don't Bite Me Bro is an open-world survival game set in the zombie apocalypse, and while it's still in beta, it's shaping up to have some pretty cool features. The map is relatively huge with a fairly dynamic range of locations, including randomly generated dungeons, and there are plenty of interactive elements. You gather resources to stay alive and fortify your base against the undead, and they're scattered throughout the world but will also attack your home in increasingly deadly waves. Take them out one by one with your weapon of choice, or mow them all down in a vehicle. Both are satisfying, especially when the numbers aren't in your favor. You can even find and save other survivors, unlocking them as playable characters with unique traits and abilities, which adds to the underlying narrative and incentivizes being heroic. There are also cheat codes built in if you're into that old school vibe of actually having to memorize combinations instead of just typing in a console command. Unlike other top-down survival games that take a highly illustrated approach, DBMB's art style is like a peek into a miniature hobby model town that you'd find on a table in someone's basement, and I love it. I'm a huge fan of games that utilize perspective and depth of field in a way that resembles a tilt-shift lens. I'm seeing it more and more in indie games these days, and it's one of the few trends I support. The game in general looks great, with its cinematic cutscenes and clean animations that are smooth and intentional. And overall, this little gem has a lot to offer, and with co-op support of up to 4 players, you and your friends can kick back, relax, and explore. Just make sure you're back in time to fend off the hungry hordes.
Number 2.
X-Trick, or Cross-Trick as I like to call it because I don't know any better, is a game of coordination with one simple premise. Click between the strings to untie the knots before they reach the spikes. While it may resemble popular rhythm titles with its booming tune and colorful track, you don't have to play along with the beat. And the ability to click anywhere below the knot you want to untie allows you the freedom of strategy. Click when the knot is higher up so you have more time to correct any mistakes, or wait until it's lower down so you have more time to act. There isn't a lot to the game beyond that, and I wish there was some variety with the music, but the smooth, endless runner-style gameplay makes it addictive. You can also use the coins you win to unlock new color schemes, which can increase the difficulty. Available for Android and iOS, X-Trick is a fun little time sink that'll hook you into a vicious cycle of trying to beat your own high score until your eyes cross. I made it to 38 seconds. How long can you last?
Number 3.
Convicted Galaxy is a third-person space exploration, resource gathering, territory holding, shoot-'em-up sort of thing. Now, I know that's not a very good description, but in this case it's easier to explain the game itself than it is to fit the game into a genre. I played the demo, and so far it's more of a conflicted galaxy, because I'm conflicted about whether or not this game has any substance. In it, you navigate your way through beautiful solar systems with the ultimate goal of escaping the galaxy. Each system is procedurally generated, with a variety of planets that serve as hubs for you to build stations and other structures that provide you with resources needed to upgrade and repair your ship, which is essential if you want to progress. As you explore the expanse, you'll discover stranded vessels to rescue and defend against enemy ships that become more powerful as the game goes on. Enemies can destroy the structures you've built, which is where the territory holding comes in, but more importantly, the game employs permadeath, so if you kick the proverbial space bucket, you'll have to start again in a new galaxy. On the surface, I'm in love with the game because space! And the game is gorgeous. The feel of the exploration itself is very remnant of No Man's Sky in terms of mechanics, only without the ability to step foot on the planets themselves. And the attention to detail is to be applauded, not only for the visuals, but for the sound design. Even small considerations like being caught in a planet's orbit by its gravitational pull goes a long way towards giving Convicted Galaxy that fluid, ethereal vibe a game set in space should have. But as a single-player experience, it didn't offer much. Even beautiful things become repetitive after a while, and I quickly found myself bored continuing to play just because I could. A compelling narrative with discoverable events and meaningful cutscenes would do wonders for breaking up the monotony and adding depth to something that otherwise felt really superficial. There is a backstory here, but it doesn't impact the gameplay. It just feels like you're flying around for flying around's sake. The enemies would also be far more engaging if they felt like other players, so I hope to see a multiplayer or a co-op component in the full release, even if it's limited. It may sound like I'm giving Convicted Galaxy a bad review, but keep in mind that it's still in early access, so a lot can change going forward, and I wouldn't have put it on this list if I didn't think there was a ton of potential here. I'm just not sure what that potential is. What I do know is that the developer has a lot of great things in the works, and that Convicted Galaxy is an indie game worth keeping an eye on.
Number 4.
Light Fairytale is a 3D Japanese-style RPG with in-field turn-based combat inspired by classics like Final Fantasy. The aesthetic definitely evokes that old-school JRPG charm, and the character models have a plushy appearance that still speaks to our favorite plucky, polygonal party members of times gone by. The environments have a soft, hazy quality, though I'm not sure if that's intentional or a graphical quirk of the demo. Either way, I hope to see brighter, more colorful environments in the full game to contrast the dark, sandy tones found here. The play area is linear with spaces that are very confined, and in this case that's a good thing since it's in keeping with the kind of maps often seen in older RPGs. I'm still curious if there will be any open world elements and how the player will travel from one major location to the next. My one criticism would be the combat. The animations were a bit buggy, especially when the camera switched perspective, and I'd like to see some improvement in the speed of attacks, as well as more satisfying sounds for the moment of impact to really give each hit that extra oomph. The game in general needs more energy and vibrance, but that's nothing a little pacing and music can't fix. The demo was around 20 minutes long, and I like where things are going, with well-toned humor and dialogue, an original soundtrack, a clean menu system, and a few unexpected mechanics. Light Fairytale is on its way to being a refreshing return to the oldies but goodies with a modern approach. It didn't reach its original goal on Kickstarter, but you can check out the demo for yourself and send the developer some love if you'd like to see this game released with polish.
Number 5.
The Unique Adventure is a first-person narrative-driven adventure game, and within minutes of starting the demo, I was reminded of the Stanley Parable. Now, I'll go on the record as saying that when a game is as distinct, clever, and memorable in its execution as the Stanley Parable was, I'm typically not interested in games that appear to mimic it because they rarely manage to feel like anything other than knockoffs of something that did everything better. For me, any game that seeks to go down the same path as one that's become a cult classic of sorts needs to up the ante with the formula, offering new mechanics, a more engaging narrative, or a level of depth that players didn't see in its popular predecessor. And I'm not sure if the Unique Adventure hits that mark. Not from playing the demo anyway. The full release may be a different story. Like, literally a different story. I don't know. Now don't get me wrong, the narration is good, the humor is appropriate, and there were interesting scenarios that added value to the relationship between the narrator and the player. But that's a part of the problem. The underlying premise is still so very Stanley that I couldn't help comparing the jokes and the commands and what happens when you obey or disobey to the parable the entire time. Nothing landed in a superior way that felt unique to this game, and everything that propelled the demo forward felt forced. I know it's scripted, but it shouldn't feel scripted. And it's a shame, because the demo is the definition of good bones, and the developer really is trying to offer, as the name suggests, a unique adventure. The inclusion of various game genres from horror hallways to escape rooms certainly sets it apart. The level of interactivity with objects in the environment and the environment itself goes well beyond the tightly structured arc that Stanley presented. And the dedication to original assets is commendable at a time when everyone is making games with stock assets from head to toe. The Unique Adventure has the potential to be the next Stanley Parable rather than another Stanley Parable if the developer places emphasis on the amazing content they're cramming into it and what makes that content special. That's just not what I took away from the demo. The story all but disappeared, the pacing along with the timing of some of the dialogue was off-kilter, and some parts that were meant to be clever were just random. In spite of that, I did enjoy playing it. I can't stress enough that I wouldn't have included this game in my list if I didn't think it deserved the attention. I just want more from it, and I hope the full release does the developer's vision justice.
Number 6.
SHAPIK The Quest 2 is a follow-up to the atmospheric 2D adventure game released a few years back. You play as SHAPIK, a humanoid creature exploring Earth following a cataclysmic nuclear war, and you plod along meeting new characters and solving puzzles as you unravel a mystery of the world around you. Point and clicks are notorious for feeling labored when poorly done. But the diverse delivery of the content in SHAPIK coupled with the broad range of interactions made me forget I was pointing and clicking at all. The environments are beautifully illustrated and lush, and the game's presentation is unique, switching from full screen to paneled views whenever the area calls for it. But the standout for me is the puzzles. They're unpredictably dynamic, and everything is contextual, dependent upon visual and audio cues. No hand-holding tutorials or dialogue, just you and the environment to guide you. It's a clever way to drop you in and engage you from the start. The demo was a little over 20 minutes long, and that was enough for me to fall in love with the world this developer built. The sound design shines as much as the artwork, and I'm not sure how varied the environments are in the full game, but the atmosphere is so immersive that I can't see myself getting bored with the way things look and feel. This is one of those demos that left me wanting more, packing a big punch in a tiny package. If you're into puzzles and a quiet, laid-back experience, SHAPIK the Quest 2 and the first one, SHAPIK the Quest, might be for you. That's it for this episode of Toast Bites. If you liked these games or hated them, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I'll be back soon with a peek at even more great games I played, but until then, see you on the plate!